get used to it surprisingly quick.
That's true.
Have you ever heard of have you heard of locked-in syndrome?
No, locked-in syndrome?
Yeah, like the only thing you can basically move are your eyes.
Oh my god, no.
Yeah, even those people report like pretty high like standards of living. So humans acclimate to their situations like unbelievably quickly. So you'll be fine.
That's true. That is ultimately true. So yeah, so that's my answer to that. I gotta
Can
be
we move
honest.
on to some drama stuff, I guess? Something exciting, interesting, etc. You got anything to add to that, or?
No.
What drama
I don't have
stuff?
anything to add. Yeah, what drama?
No, just in general. Like, what's your take on all this shenanigans going on with like Lab and Mr. Girl right now? What's your viewpoint on it?
Here's my hottest take about it. I think Steven curates.
Hold on, let me stop you right now. If you give a half-assed, fake, cutesy answer that does nothing, I'm gonna be really disappointed and upset. So
okay,
you better
fine.
give a real hot take here, not some fake hot take that's not hot. So
Okay,
what's going on?
I think Steven is such a unique individual that he curates a safe space for some of the most other unique individuals, and those unique individuals tend to be mentally ill, and mental illness with a lack of introspection causes chaos and drama.
Wait, who are you indicating is mentally ill? Well, I guess there's only a few options here, but yeah, what's going on here?
Lav, Mr. Girl, obviously they talk about it all the time. Like, it's clear. Like, assuming Mr. Girl's stories are all correct, he's obviously going back and forth with his own. He's kind of like Kanyeing everything right now, right? Like, he's kind of like Kanye a little bit. He's more reasonable than Kanye, but I mean, is he that different than talking about reality from only his view and how he has all the answers and how he's the one being the most nuanced when that's not really what's happening?
Oh shit.
So
do you have
who just joined?
conversation? Oh, it's Lav Loon. Hey, Lav.
I left.
Hey, what's up, Lav?
Hi, I just tuned into stream and heard someone utter my name. I was summoned.
My mentally ill sister.
Yeah,
I
I actually think that you're right. I did want to come on because I think that this would be a good time because the gang's all here. I did want to actually publicly apologize.
For crying?
No, not for crying. I think my cry was justified, and I think.
Wait, are you apologizing to Dan?
No.
Yeah. You
Steven,
should be.
I'm apologizing to you. And
Oh no,
also
listen, please.
to-
If you want to tweet
to
something,
your-
go for it. I hate apologies. I don't care. You're good. Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll apologize to your audience also. I think that I mischaracterized your audience. I think for every really evil, toxic, spiteful chatter, there's like a really like beautifully introspective, very charitable, empathetic chatter. But it is like so hard to focus on the good things. Obviously, right? Obviously.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Is a mirror. You know, that's what it is.
Sure, and that's hard. That's hard. Like that is it's, and especially when it's in real time. I don't think that a lot of people have to introspect immediately in real time, constantly, like people who stream.
You know, at the end of the day, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot of them. And you guys have been doing a lot of L's lately. Lav.
I think you're right.
You have to get your shit together because this is a fucking mess. Everything I'm seeing from you lately is just not good. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna change things up? Is what I would ask you.
I don't know. I don't know if everything is a miss.
I didn't say everything. I said most of the things are a miss. Well, I don't even know if I said that.
I think you said everything.
Well, then everything. You know, you gotta turn your shit around.
Double down, yeah, double down. Yeah, I don't know. I don't want to take too much of your time. I just wanted to come in and say.
You don't want to answer that question then.
Well, no, I do. I just don't want to. I don't want to come in here and make it the lab show. I just wanted to make like a little appearance and then pop out.
Well, right now it's the fucking. Oh, hold on. Right now it was the Britney show. Thank God I shut that shit down. So we can do the lab show for a little bit. So
no, I love the Britney show.
We're moving on now.
I love Steven and Britney's dynamic. Interesting than.
There you go. Okay.
What I could add right now, I will come on again and avenge myself.
Well, Lev, let me ask you this question before you leave. I'm just curious. So you see how like you're lovable, you come on, like I'm already smiling. I'm like, Lev is here. Like there's so much about you that's lovable. Do you think that you know that about yourself, that there are lovable parts, but then there are parts of you that like just like people aren't quite used to?
You know what though?
And that just that disconnect between those two areas.
Fuck this. streamer drama. Let's go to the real Destiny content. Let's go to the fucking real Destiny. Where is the one that I was saving? This one.
Orange County needs more affordable housing. But what are the politicians on the Orange County Commission doing?
How the f did you get in here? Good friend of the stream, Vosh, got banned today on both of his channels because both of his channels got struck on YouTube, and now he can't stream for a week. My community was very, like, when you look at people like Jordan Peterson was like the prototypical, I think, example of this, and then you look at like a lot of the red pill guys now. If you're on the right, and I'm able to accurately explain like, okay, well, I don't agree with you, but I understand like these are your complaints. I understand that you're looking for these types of solutions. Like, I get your problems. Like, they're real. They exist, obviously. Like, feelings aren't random. We say that on the left all the time, you know? Nobody feels things by accident. I think if you're on the right, you're like, oh, well, it's cool that like somebody, especially somebody on the left, at least seems like, even if I don't agree with them, at least it seems like they understand my problems. Because I think most people on the left are only speaking to people on the left, and they don't really seem to care to try to like have any sort of empathetic bridge built at all, because everybody on the right is just like a racist Nazi neo-fascist. How do I feel the events went? Good one. I think
No! It's so trash.
Actually. For my first day, I was hoping we would get some okay, like at least 1 or 2 okay convos that August could cut up if needed, and I was hoping for like 5,000 or 6,000 people on my stream, maybe a little less if like the internet was laggy. But I think day 1 peaked at 11,000 viewers, and it pretty consistently held at around 9,000 to 10,000, which was really good for a live stream audience. If you can't hear me in the back, just shout at me and I'll speak up something. And the audience was pretty good. There were issues, but I think most of the issues were on our end. After the first day, I got a lot of feedback. I did a lot of soul searching. I think that in the future, I think we're probably going to go with more pointed topics. Initially, my idea was the broader the topic, the more people I could get in to have a conversation. But I think a lot of conversation time was wasted on like figuring out what exactly the topic was. And then when it's too broad, there's too much room for agreement for people that sit down. I think that having more particular or specific topics would have been good to get more passionate people to come and disagree. And it would have been good for more focused conversations. So like the first topic was, has wokeism gone too far? Maybe instead a better topic would have been, I think Nazis should be allowed to speak on campus. Like that would have been a much more aggressively phrased topic, and it would have gotten people to sit down who really disagreed with that premise, rather than like the general trend of like, well, is it too much wokeness and blah, 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 which is probably a little bit too vague, I guess, for the style of conversation. That was one thing. The second thing was I did a difference between like day 2 and day 3, or I'm sorry, day 1 and day 2, or event 1 and event 2, where initially I was trying to chew through a lot of people because I didn't want to. I felt bad like talking to one person for like 30 or 40 minutes and then having the rest of the crowd just kind of sitting there or standing there. But I think in retrospect, I think going a lot deeper in conversations, I think produces better conversations because 1, I don't have to retread a bunch of old ground, which I was doing a lot on day 1. And 2, it allows me to dig deeper into more meatier like parts of the conversation where more of the interest lies. Like the first like 4 minutes of any like abortion debate are just going to be each other like figuring out like what's going on. How the f did you get in here? No, I'm looking at you. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. We got spies in the building. Okay. No, but yeah, I think that having the more fleshed out conversations, I think is probably better than like having like somebody come on for 5 minutes, shoo them off, 5 minutes, shoo them off, 5 minutes, and shoo them off. Particularly on the first day, the 2. I brought up one guy that was like a total outsider, like he wasn't a Destiny fan or anything, and at the end of the conversation, he said something really wild about like executing political opponents that say like crazy things.
Yes.
And it already kind of said like, I'll give you the last word, so I didn't want to go too deep on it, but I definitely could have talked to that guy for a lot longer.
That guy was very aggressive.
And then the communist socialist girl, I probably could have talked to for probably a lot longer, but I also cut that conversation short too, because that one was already going for pretty long. Yeah, but the second day was a lot better for that. Let's see. More pointed topics, probably talking to people for a bit longer, diving deeper on conversations. The speaker was really helpful in Austin. It was nice when we had it set up here at A&M, but when it got taken down, that sucked because if you can't, a lot of people aren't projecting their voice as much. A lot of people like kind of talk into the microphone or they could talk down and they don't project very well. So next time we do an event, we'll probably have speakers. We'll get like, I guess we needed permits here for them, or they decided we needed permits or something. We'll probably make sure that's set up. What else do you guys care about? Any questions, I guess, related to anything like that, or feedback,
Something
or
useful for
thoughts
the
or
last 2
ideas?
seconds. Oh, fucker.
Perception of college students before and after. Oh, I guess one of the big things that I had to decide about was whether or not to shout out this event far in advance or not. So initially when I did these, like, I do a lot of study generally for the conversations that I do have, and if I'm going to come in Thunderdome kids in, like, the debate arena, I wanted to be people that, like, oh, Destiny's coming to debate this thing. I'm going to, like, look up all the research so that when I come, I can have a really productive conversation. I didn't want to just come and, like, face a bunch of, like, college kids who, like, aren't ready to get, like, master debated or some, like, stupid, you know, like, dumb stuff like that. I wanted them to be, like, really prepared to have, like, a really good, fleshed out, fruitful conversation. But I think it kind of backfired in that I just had a bunch of my fans show up, and it was like a bunch of people that already kind of agreed with me, so the conversations like weren't as productive. So I need to find a way to strike a balance between informing some kind of people ahead of time that I'll be there so that they can like send their champion debaters, but then also not like not doing it so much ahead of time that it's just a bunch of like my fans that show up. And yeah, that's probably not as positive a thing, I think, because yeah, having a bunch of people sit down that are already fans, maybe we're going to be like in 99% agreement.
Meet and greet
regardless.
type beat. Fuck.
Anything else? Yeah, go. What else?
God damn, this is a banana land right there. Fuck.
What's the most challenging part of the change your mind segment for me? No, honestly, God, not much. I just have to show up and talk to people. Jeff is the one that like deals with all the heavy lifting and everything. Yeah, I don't think there. I mean, I guess depending on the topic, I guess maybe there could be topics that I need to prepare for. If I do like a more in-depth topic in the future, but these were all ones that I was already kind of familiar with. But yeah, I mean, like most of the students are really friendly. All the staff and all of my help were really friendly. So everything went like really easily for me. There wasn't like it'd be pretty silly for me to say there was like any challenges associated for me. It was everything went really smoothly.
Motherfuck.
More dunking? No, that's the whole point, is to not do that. My dream, what I really want is, it's kind of funny because people were making fun of like some of the America First guys, but I actually think that the two conversations I had with the AF guys were really good today, because I think that those are traditionally conversations because of where the America First people are situated. They sit outside of kind of like the realm of acceptable political opinions, and I think that generally when people want to deal with that group of people, usually you just say, I don't talk to them, they're Nazis, I don't want to talk to them ever. And I think that the conversations we had today, even though there were obviously huge like foundational disagreements between the two of us, me and then I think there were two different guys that I had conversations with. I thought that the conversations were really good because you can show that at the very least, even if we disagree, that there is a conversation that can be had there. There is discourse, there is dialogue. Just because I had that conversation doesn't mean everybody. This is
my most awful track. I suck at this.
Existential threat to the entire school, and it is possible to like engage people that
you
dramatically disagree with.
You have to hit that so perfect. It's fucking ridiculous.
So, even though I don't know if you guys showed up to troll or whatever, I did appreciate the AF guys showing up for the conversations, because yeah, I think they were both good conversations. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Somebody said I can't dunk on anybody because I'm too short. So not cool. Not nice. Question from over there.
Where's the left of the short
internet
kings?
Debates versus real life debates. I like real life everything because there's a different like energy in real life. I grew up in a really interesting time. It's hard to explain unless you're like within like 1 or 2 years of me. Like, so I'm 33. When I grew up, the internet wasn't really a thing until like high school. As weird as that is to say, it was like AOL.com keyword search. And then, yeah, it was a way different kind of place. Like Gmail didn't exist. We were fighting for.
How did
on,
it
like,
hit
Yahoo
me,
Mail.
dude?
People were using like Netscape, and Real Media Player, and it was a totally different time. So I grew up enough in an environment where real life interactions were kind of like essential. And then when social media started, social media like only existed to help your real life interactions. Like Facebook. When Facebook first came out, I don't know if this is everybody's experience, but Facebook was so cool when it came out because it gave you a way to like see where the parties were and then to check in and like be at parties. Like, okay, everybody's going to John's house at 9 p.m. on Saturday, and I can see who's going, and that's awesome. That was like the whole point. So I like online debates. Obviously, it's my bread and butter, and it's the best thing is I can play Factorial while I do it. But I think in real life, I think there's a different type of energy. There's a kind of mutual respect demanded. Like, I don't know if I'm ever going to have a conversation in real life where the other person goes full, like, ape mode and starts screaming and screeching like they do online. I don't think people generally bring that same type of energy in real life. You see the other human being, and it humanizes them to some extent.
I hate this track. I
I didn't
fucking
see
hate
Haas at
this track.
TwitchCon, but
everything
who
in
knows?
me.
Maybe I mean, when Haas met me, Haas was very, very, very nice. He was very, but Chud Logic. I mean, he's British. You know, British people bring out the worst sometimes in each other. Yeah, I don't know. I do appreciate the energy of real life events. I like online events because they're super like convenient. Obviously, you can just call someone and talk. But I really like real life formats, and I think it's a good skill to have, like public speaking and being able to speak to people in public. I just said the same thing twice. But yeah, that's a really good skill to have. Yeah.
I knew it. I knew it was gonna fucking hit that stupid ass, fuck ass, bitch ass. Fuck!
Can people hear these guys if they're not? Okay, good.
No.
Yeah, so that guy just was freaking out. I don't know what. Can we? Do we have security here? Can I ban people here? He said that this guy over here, the jokester over here, said that if I'm having real life debates, it's gonna look bad if I
God,
wave my
it's
head
so
around,
hot.
throw my hands in the air, and threaten to ban chat if they troll me. So, good one. Yeah, so the question is whether or not I could do more topics in the future to give more people a chance to engage. I don't think I want to have
Try for
like,
try for a
whole,
trophy.
like,
Fuck you.
host of topics that people
Go
can
fuck
do because
yourself.
one, for the video, it would be nice to focus it on like a particular topic. It's better for a video if it's just not a ton of stuff. And then two, it gives me an ability to kind of like feel out like a certain vibe on a conversation topic. Like it's interesting if I can do a certain topic and get like 10 different people's opinions on that same topic. It helps me build like almost like a subjective consensus in my head about how people feel about particular things, which is nice. And then three, if I do more in-depth topics in the future, I'm only human. I can only prepare for so many topics. If I've got like 10 different topics and they all require like pretty extensive reading, then I don't think it's realistic for me to be like, especially if I'm giving people things heads up in advance. If like the Aggie like Republicans send some guy to debate me on like very niche like foreign policy issues in like Azerbaijan or something, and I don't even know what's going on there right now. Like it's going to be like too overwhelming for me to deal with. I think think I'd rather stick to like one or two topics that are very like current day, like hot button topics, depending on what's going on. So like Ukraine is a big one right now. Inflation is a big one right now. Biden's presidency is kind of a big one right now. But yeah, more like pointed specific topics in the future. It's okay. I don't need like. I think my goal should probably be like 6 or 7 like really good conversations rather than trying to get through like 20 people that all want to like talk about different things. Yeah. Just don't prepare. Be like Vosh. You know, I've
There you
seen
go.
how that's
There
worked
you-
for Vosh. Not very well. So no, but tempting. Do I find it more or less difficult to guide conversations in person versus online? I think in person.
I picked
is
the wrong
actually
car. I
more
shouldn't have picked this
difficult
stupid fucking
because
car.
This is it's just my current read, and I could be wrong. But I think that in person it's more difficult because I think the other person gets a little bit more nervous, and I think it's harder for them sometimes to keep track of what I'm saying. Like I notice when I'm talking to people in person, especially when they're like a little bit more nervous, they kind of ramble, and they'll go over like 4 or 5 different points, and it's hard to keep the conversation on track. But it's also like I don't want to cut somebody off in person. I want to like interrupt. It feels more rude to do in person. But yeah, it's also harder because I can't like take notes. Like normally on my computer, I can like if somebody wants to ramble for a minute or two, I can like write down point after point after point, and then when they're done, I can go ahead and give like my rebuttal to each one. So guiding in-person topics are definitely a bit different. Probably more challenging in person, but I'd say more rewarding if you do a good job. Yeah.
So the topics that you chose, do you think that the way that you choose them in the future is going to be different? Because I saw, there's only one segment that I saw out of any of them, and it was the girl at UT that was arguing about wokeness with you. And she had she had an upper hand because she wasn't making any positive claim forward. And she was basically...
I fucking did it! I never hit that thing. I never, ever hit it.
Topics more to be hyper-specific.
Ah,
Yeah, so
dog
the question is
shit.
basically like the girl at
That was gonna blow right
UT
through that,
seemed
and
like
I'm
she had
at
the
7.
upper hand because she could nail me down on my lack of specificity on a topic. I think in the future, I think the topics are going to be way more specific to kind of keep the conversations a little bit more focused. I think because initially broader, I went broader just to have more people feel comfortable engaging with the topics. But I think in the future, being more narrow to get people to
Oh my god,
engage on certain
bro.
specific points that I can be like really well prepared
That was
for, so we can go really deep
that
into
felt
the topic. It's probably going to be
racist.
more fruitful. Wait, are you an online person? Oh, you're Sanso, right? Yeah, I just connected. I don't even. Jesus, my brain. Okay. Sorry. Oh, hi.
Yeah, I know you said that you would change some things, but I was wondering if you had a specific goal for these events and if you met that goal.
So my specific goal for these events are, it feels like right now there are like bubbles of acceptable or possible political conversations. So if you're a progressive or you're somebody on the left that is very like politically opinionated, there is like this whole class of people that you will refuse to talk to. Like progressives don't typically engage Trump supporters or like Blue Lives Matter people in very
good faith ways.
Productive. They don't engage them in very productive dialogue. Usually it's like a bunch of name calling, screaming,
Fuck!
and then deplatforming.
Yes!
It's like the goal from the left. And then on the right, there's also this goal of like, they're a little bit more desperate for the platforming, so they'll entertain more conversations now. But it's still like, I have this fundamental idea that I'm almost positive is true, that like 99% of like all of humanity is pretty shared on what we want for humanity. Like I think most people want to have happy, healthy families.
Destiny's always talking about how we actually do disagree on a good amount.
Earn money, come home, and then like have some fun. Like I think that basic framework applies to almost everybody on the planet. And then obviously you're going to get into the weeds on certain moral issues, especially around issues like LGBT stuff. But for the most part, I think everybody is coming from a good place. And one of my goals in having conversations with people that are very politically different is to try to show that I understand that, and then to try to make other people understand that like when people are coming out like from a Blue Lives Matter perspective, it's not because they hate black people and they love cops and they want to see like minorities killed. It's because they think that more police will genuinely make the place a safer place. Or when you get people that are talking like defund the police and ACAB, they're not saying that because they want crime to run rampant and they hate cops and they want them all to die. Well, most of them don't. They're doing it because they genuinely think that like the institution of policing like needs to change because it's not in a good place to keep most people in America, especially minorities, in like a healthy area. So yeah, I guess my goal is, that's what my goal is, engaging people.
I'm gonna
with,
switch to FIFA after this.
Political opinions to show it's possible and to show that there is some common ground at least.
Damn it.
And in terms of like, was I successful with that in this event? I mean, these are the first two that I've done. I would say they went really successfully in terms of metrics.
Dude, if he goes down to South
I think some of the
Florida, if he doesn't even UM or some shit,
I can definitely do them better in the future. But yeah, this is a first.
If he goes down to South Florida,
exceedingly well,
fucking lives there
compared to what I expected it to go. Yeah.
Going off that last answer, when you start looking at your career in a big picture perspective, what do you think is the like potential impact that you could have? Is also taking into account like that you're thinking about this whole media company startup. Like, what do you think like are the upward bounds of like the kind of impact you could have or your movement could have?
When I look at my career, what is like the upward impact that I could have was kind of the question. I guess, so anybody here play Mega Man? Okay, decent amount. Okay, every time Mega Man kills an enemy, he absorbs their weapon, and it's like a new thing that he uses on his next opponent. Something that I've been so incredibly lucky to experience, like my honest to God, my whole life is just like one lucky break after another. When I got popular on the internet, I was definitely part of a very specific section of incredibly edgy internet behavior, like incredibly edgy, like stuff that would make like Hitler blush if he read like some of the chat logs that I had on Battle.net, like an unbelievably edgy on the internet. But like the internet was kind of accepting of that culture back then, and as the culture has slowly changed, I've kind of like naturally progressed along with it. So I think that like I have a really wide background in terms of being able to understand a lot of different types of people. I come from a Catholic background. I went to a Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, all boys. Jesuit.
I was about to say fuck this lady, and then I switched it to
Nebraska,
bitch.
in the Midwest for 30 years. I lived in LA for 3 years. Like I've got Republican parents. My mom and side of the family are Cuban immigrants. And then I've been online through so many different communities. I think that probably the most unique thing I have is I've got a lot of different perspectives, and I don't demonize any of them. I don't know why people do this, but usually, like if a human leaves one place for another, like the thing he has to do is immediately decry and destroy and hate wherever he came from. Whereas I can like move on from one place and I can be like, I disagree with these people, but I understand why they do what they do. So when you say like what is the upper bound, I guess, or the upper trajectory of my career, I don't know. I mean, ideally, I guess the most popular person in the world, but that's probably not realistic. But one thing that I've been able to do, I think exceedingly well from place to place, is I seem to be able to go into communities that are very different from me, and I've got a really good rhythm of getting respect from those communities and then pushing into those communities in ways that I didn't think I'd be able to do before. And I think I can only do that because of the unique experiences that I've had so far getting to where I am. Like, I think my foray into like the fresh and fit stuff went, again, way better than I thought. My first meeting was probably more soft than a lot of people would have liked it, but my second time on the show was like way more aggressive, and I think I could only do it because of the respect I earned the first time. So yeah, I think my goal is to just be able to, I guess, like communicate with different communities and at least show that communication is possible. I don't talk to my community much about this, but like everybody always talks about like converting people and converting people and converting people. Like people talk about like the groypers, like you got to convert the groypers, you got to convert the fresh and fit people. You got to. My goal isn't usually to convert anybody. Actually, I really don't care at the end of the day if I convert people or not. That's not my goal. My goal is at the very least that like I want you to come away from listening to me thinking like, okay, I hate this guy and he's kind of a cuck, but I can understand where he's coming from, and I like at least I like understand like what he's saying, and I know why he's saying what he's saying, rather than like the stereotypical image of like a blue-haired screeching SJW that's just calling you racist or something. So yeah, I guess as many communities as I can penetrate with that, and we'll see how that goes. Yeah.
Fuck.
Austin talk on the has wokeness gone too far? I didn't see all of it, but every single person that argued against you on that, what they were saying eventually ended up being, so they used a whole bunch more words to say that one word, but they all just seem to say, well, they say bad things, they get canceled, so what's the big deal? As in, they don't recognize how easily it can be flipped back around on the people that deal with that kind of dismissal attitude.
Basically, the question was, the question was that if I argue with somebody about the wokeness topic and eventually the conversation ends with them saying like, oh, well, so what? Like, so what if it's gone too far? How do you get through to somebody that...
Well, that one guy said
like
it.
In favor of...
I guess
those,
he's
like,
that
very
guy saying
radical
all of them
positions.
say, fuck, man.
Honestly, it's usually like a more in-depth conversation to get there. There's a lot of different paths you can go, but part of convincing somebody that they have an idea that's bad is the first thing you have to do is get an understanding of what's important to them. And once you have an understanding of what's important to them, I think you have to demonstrate to them how that idea can be flipped against them. And how important it is for them to understand why they should have a more principled position on it. I remember when we argued, it was about guns. One of the most compelling arguments for in favor of guns when you're arguing with progressive communities is to bring up things like the LA riots, or to bring up things like the Black Panthers in California, or to bring up things like the Tulsa riots. And do you think that minorities should have the right to have firearms to protect themselves against certain types of aggressive white communities or racist communities that will have firearms? And usually when you start to frame things like that, it becomes a lot harder for them to be like, well, maybe,
dude, all these fucking dude. The amount of potassium in this game is unreal.
And the only time you can think of that principle being exercised is when it's against you. But I can demonstrate that this principle, it can benefit you too. And I think that's kind of the goal that we have. Progressives stopped doing this a long time ago. They never want to show people how the ideals that they advocate for can benefit the other side. They'll only argue it in their side. I don't even know if they care sometimes if it's for the other side. But yeah, I think it's important to recognize both sides of the argument and to show that, like, hey, here's a principle that I have. Maybe it can be beneficial to you. Good friend of the stream, Vosh, got banned today on both of his channels because both of his channels got struck on YouTube, and now he can't stream for a week. My community was very, remorseful, or like, oh, that sucks. It sucks that his channel got banned. When my Twitter account got nuked, his whole subreddit obviously was rejoicing and celebrating. Usually the best way, this is going to sound so weird, but the best way to get YouTube bans flipped sometimes is to have like a big uproar on Twitter to try to get them flipped. Now, imagine if Vosh had a friend with a 100,000 follower Twitter account that could amplify his tweets to
try for a trophy now.
But he doesn't have that right now because his fan base is massively in favor of deplatforming, and my Twitter account is banned. Not to say that like my retweets or my encouragement would have been the deciding factor there, but it definitely would have helped. It definitely would have been 4, 5, 6, 10,000 more retweets. And there are definitely other people that I could have reached out to help for that, like I did for Mr. Girl. But because Vosh's community has their stance on deplatforming people they don't like, they essentially lost access to that. So yeah, that was a really long way of saying that, like, when you run into people that seem like they don't care about the end goal of whatever it is you're arguing, the important thing to do is to like get the focus off of you and find out like, well, how could this negatively impact you? Oh, another really easy thing to do. Some guy got me with this hardcore X skills me did, and it made me rethink a lot of executive powers. Was I don't remember what it was. It had something to do with like the executive branch being able to rule things as like misinformation or whatever. And X skills me was like, anytime you think about these types of programs you want running, imagine that Trump is at the head of them. And I'm like, you know what? When you put it that way, I don't actually think I want the federal government doing this or that, because I don't think I would want him in charge of those programs. So yeah, that's another way to flip it too. It just depends on the person you're talking to.
Fuck.
Why you're banned? How do you feel your personal
Fuck.
Ignoring my fans, how was my reception on campus? I thought it was exceedingly well. Everybody was polite. Nobody showed up to heckle. Nobody tried to stab me or shoot me. Everybody seemed, yeah, I don't know. I thought everybody, I mean, I had a lot of fans.
The
I was gonna
bar
say,
is
but, I mean, everybody seemed
low.
polite. I didn't have any problems. Yeah.
Fuck!
Better than the other. You know, the Aggies are just so kind down here. So great, so graceful. No, I'm not sure. They both seemed like, I mean, there's a lot of my fans there, so it's hard to say. But I mean, both seemed like pretty friendly. Yeah.
Dude, I was in second
other-
place, bro.
Yeah, in the back.
Fuck,
My
fuck.
question's kind of off topic. I noticed you mentioned Mr. Girl. I noticed something different about you, Mr. Girl. The way that
Oh, there's a lot of things different about me, Mr. Girl, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, y'all are kind of similar, but the main difference I noticed is he likes to rationalize his thoughts with his feelings a lot. You don't do that. You rationalize your thoughts and your arguments with like facts. You ever think and wonder why you don't ever lean on your feelings a little bit more to rationalize your arguments?
Why don't I lean on my feelings more to rationalize my arguments? Usually when I'm having an argument with another person, I feel like I'm usually taking kind of the more aggressive stance, and I feel like I'm trying to work within the framework of their feelings or what they care about. So if I'm having a conversation with somebody and I'm trying to convince them of something different, I'm usually working through how they feel about things. My feelings are very relevant because I feel a certain way about things, and I think a certain way about things. And if you felt the way that I felt and you thought the way that I thought, then you're going to agree with me 100%. But if you are having dramatically different thoughts than me, then my assumption, I saw that. My assumption is going to be that that you're feeling a different way about things. So usually I try to work through things from the other person's perspective, I guess. I do consider how I feel about things sometimes, but I usually find like arguments from personal feelings about things are usually really unconvincing to other people. It tends not to work that way. Unless it's something that we can like bond over. Like if it's a similar feeling we have. So like when I argue about trans kids, sometimes I'll try to appeal to, if another person is a parent, that's a really easy conversation for me to have. Because like I have a son, if I have a medical decision that I want to make with my son, like you might have a medical decision you want to make with a child, the last person you want involved with that is some government official telling you can or can't do anything. That's the easiest argument in the world to have because that's a really strong feeling that we can bond on. But otherwise it just, it's going to depend on, I guess, what the conversation is, how much my personal feelings are going to be involved in the argument. Yeah. Yeah, go for it.
Fuck out of here.
Consider going to Houston at all?
Have I considered going to UC?
Houston.
Oh, Houston. Why? What's in Houston?
Shit.
Oh, yeah, everything you
Fucking nothing.
You what?
bigger city than College Station?
Bigger city. Man, I heard a lot of crazy things about Houston, okay? I'm just saying.
That's where Beyonce's from. No.
Correct.
And Meg.
Yeah, you're already making me feel a little worried about Houston, okay? Jeez, all right? I don't know. I think for this, we just reached out to a ton of, the goal was to find like 2 schools that we could drive to within like a couple days. And then these 2 reached out to us. The support was really strong. San Antonio was really strong too, but that it ultimately ended up falling through. But it basically comes down to whoever responds, whichever organization is like the most excited to have us on campus. And then we kind of just, go from there basically. But I mean, if there's like a campus at Houston.
No, you had to hit him
Austin, we might
twice.
do
And
that.
he's going to catch up to me. Watch.
Yeah.
He's going to catch up to me.
You.
Go!
Would you ever be opposed to doing like a change my mind at a black campus like Prairie View A&M?
Would I be opposed to doing a change my mind at a black campus? What kind of black campus are we talking about? Like an HBCU?
Yeah.
Jesus, what would the topic be? Like, should white people be allowed to rap the N-word? Or like, that seems like...
That would be a great fucking video.
I think that, there are a lot of like very divisive issues. Like generally for any issue that a white person thinks they have with the black community, a part of the black community usually has that issue with the black community as well. So I don't know if it's me inserting myself in the conversation seems like really weird. Like I'm trying to imagine myself showing up like at an HBCU saying like, I disagree with colorism. Like we shouldn't engage in this anymore. And I'm like the only white guy. It just seems like a really weird argument for me to have. It would definitely be fun and it would be memey. I don't know if it would be the most appropriate thing. And I imagine the reception there would be like kind of wild.
Performed pretty well in the past with like say for example on like the Fanatic panel.
Fuck. God damn, dude.
I don't know. I think it would be good content, and not in the way that it would be like, you know, like ultra controversial or even dangerous, but
it would be I would have to find an appropriate topic. It gets like, this sounds kind of weird. I usually don't mind arguing anything, but I do try to think of the optics sometimes as like the white straight savior. Like, I don't want to ever give that vibe off that like I'm going to like.
Dude, actually, I was close in this one.
Like, be the best
I had a shot in this race.
And even with LGBT issues, sometimes I feel that like I'm here arguing in favor of trans issues a lot, and I'm like the cis white savior guy to like do it. Like, I try to avoid that characterization. If there was like a really relevant topic that came up, and I thought it'd be like a really good opportunity. Maybe,
hey, the two people watching.
It would super come down.
You
to,
will
like
and
this
follow me.
Topic was, I think, if I had like a really good one, then maybe, yeah.
Yoshi Circuit, dude. I better win this. I'm literally driving. It's me.
Yeah, well,
it's my track.
Provocative or too much of like a simp. Like, if I show up at like an HBCU and I say like, oh, we should have reparations or something, like, it just feels like really weird as like a white person to be like, I'm here to, I don't know, just, yeah, there's just like a lot of weird, it just feels really weird, I guess. It would come down to the topic, I think, for what the conversation should be, I think, yeah.
Would you ever come back here?
Would I ever come back to A&M? Maybe. Yeah, it just depends on what's going on in the future. Depends how many more of these we do, yeah. Do I still talk to Sargon? Not really, but I like never really talk to Sargon that much. Like, privately, like we DM every now and then, but it's like, it's pretty rare, yeah. What's chat up to real quick? Hold on. Nothing much. Okay, they're just memeing. Okay, what's up?
Yeah, this is a silly question, but today with the gun control, specifically the gun control argument, there was a bearded gentleman, older gentleman that came up to you and
Nah, fuck, dude. That was gonna be so clutch for me. Stupid fucking Mario.
Gesture of like, oh gosh, you know, or like preparing for something.
Was it this guy here?
I don't. Oh, was it you?
I don't know. I was the one with it.
Oh yeah, it was this guy. I just say shut up. He looks like the most stereotypical like conservative.
He was a former police officer.
Yeah, it was this guy. Yeah, it's that guy right there.
I've been bamboozled, actually.
He's like the white guy from the Joyner Lucas song, like showing up to like, yeah, and I'm like, oh god, here we go. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's I should have pushed back more on the gun control topic. That was 100% my fault. The problem is that like I'm pretty like the weird thing was I guess stream didn't see this, but like most
It's over.
of the
I'm
people that
eighth.
came
I'm
up
in
to
eighth place.
argue
I'm losing.
against gun control ended up being in favor of more gun control than I would have been in favor of, which I thought was kind of strange. A couple people sat down to argue against gun control, and then they were saying like, I think red flag laws are actually good, and we should restrict like most firearm purchases to 21. And I was like, oh, I don't think I would agree with that at all. So yeah, I should have pushed back more on that topic. I think we were trying to go with like one left-leaning topic and one right-leaning topic, but we didn't know where the Joe Biden one would end up being. Like, are more left-leaning people going to fight me on that than right-leaning people because progressives hate Joe Biden? Yeah, I don't know. So. Yeah, well, next time the topics will be more pointed, and I'll have a more aggressive position, I think, and then I'll far more aggressive, like, passionate people to argue the other side of it as well, yeah.
When's that jacket going up on sale?
Wasn't this sold in the last merch drop?
I don't think so, no.
Oh, man. I wonder where I got this from. I don't know, ask Ninu. Always bug Ninu and chat about merchandise, okay? She's the one. Hi.
Okay, this is kind of weird. A lot off topic. All right.
Kind of weird, a lot off topic. All right.
Yeah, so the vegan gains debate.
Oh, God. Literally follow me to my own fan meetups. Really?
So your original position in like past debates was kind of like how it was the human, like it was a conscious experience, but then it was also kind of how well you adhere to a social contract.
Embarrassing.
Was kind of what I gained from what you had said. And so like if an alien came down and that they had such advanced like conscious experience that you couldn't conform to their social contract, that they could kill you off. And then in this recent debate, you kind of
sweating, dude.
Like, okay, well, we value a human or something that relates to a human conscious experience because that is like what we have. And so I'm kind of wondering why you moved from this idea of like the human or kind of more towards I guess human rather than being able to adhere to the social.
I think so I think both arguments are still true. I think the human sentience one, in a way, can reduce to that social contract one, but the social contract one gets weirder because people really want to talk about severely mentally disabled people all the time and their inability to reciprocate a social contract. But I find that like the human sentience one seems to be a bit more grounded. Like I feel like I can argue that on stronger grounds for like start and end to human life and kind of the uniqueness of like the human subjective experience. But then some people want to argue that animals have similar similar subjective experiences, but yeah, I don't know. It's just I think that I do that argument more, but I haven't really like practiced up on vegan arguments recently. Like maybe I would find a way to incorporate that social contract one into the human subjective experience, because human subjective experiences are the only ones that can conceptualize as much necessary to make the social contract thing work. I don't know if I'm fully bought into that or not. I have to think a lot about that, but I just haven't done vegan arguments in a while because fuck that.
Honestly.
Sansel.
A lot of people are asking me to ask you about the misogyny, the anti-misogyny arc.
The anti-misogyny arc.
And also, the DGG chat on Twitter is begging me to shout them out. So Courtney and Paraglobalism and Sock Darling all say hello.
Courtney, Paraglobalism, and Sock Darling all say hello. Hello. We say hello back to you. So the anti-misogyny arc is my community is too misogynistic. Look around you, friends. Okay, not good. There's a couple things going on. So one, I think that like hardcore online communities lend themselves to being male dominated. Political communities online lend themselves to be even more male dominated, and debate political communities surrounding like autistic video games like Factorio probably even more lend themselves towards being male dominated. So all of that is true. But one thing that I noticed, I have a friend, I've got a woman friend who points out to me a lot that even if I'm not overtly misogynistic with the things that I say, and even when I'm not joking about misogyny, a lot of what we talk about on stream sometimes comes off as like by a man for a male point of view, and that there are probably ways that I could like degender some of the messaging I do sometimes. Now, obviously, we're talking about like dating norms or something. That might be more specific. But in general, it's probably a way to, like, tone down how gendered the communication is, and you don't really lose anything of value, and then you have the ability to expand your audience to like women, which I think is good. So as part of this, the problem is that at some point, ironic misogyny is the exact same thing as misogyny, right? Like there's oh God, what's the name of it? There's a name for I'm calling on you as a black person here. There's a name for like when white people are like friendly racist towards black people, like you're so athletic. They did this a lot in like the Get Out movie. It's like endearing racism or whatever, like dumb stuff like that. There's like we do like weird forms of like endearing misogyny or like ironic misogyny, but at the end of the day, like it all serves to like do the same purpose of like if you're a woman, you enter the community, you kind of feel like really othered because like there's constant jokes about like coomers, and as soon as I go offline, people are like posting like a million porn links, and it's just like weird stuff like that. It's probably makes it like not feel like a very inviting or welcoming community to
I'm done.
So I want to start to
I ran
cut
all
down on
three
that as much as possible. And then also my community's engagement with different actors that I have around me is like destroyed by misogyny because it inhibits people's ability to actually see legitimate criticism and to not just be misogynistic. So for instance, like there are people in my community like Brittany who gets an unwarranted amount of hate, an ungodly amount of hate for no real reason. Like other than, I mean, you might not like her because she kind of comes off as like a crystal girl, but like she's like almost no drama. She's like got her life relatively well thought out. She's like manages all of her stuff. She's like very clearly an adult. Her conversations are pretty interesting to me. She's like pretty empathetic. We can communicate back and forth. Like Brittany's like one of the best people that I've had the opportunity to meet on stream. And then you've got people like Lav who are not as great. Who have like their own set of problems. But the problem is that if you're somebody looking outside into my community and you look at the type of feedback that Lav and Brittany get, you would think that like Lav and Brittany have said similarly the same types of things on stream because the feedback is extreme for both of them. Arguably, Brittany got more hate, which is unreal to me. So when people like Lav make these accusations where they're like, oh, that community is sexist, and it's like, yeah, a little bit, but you also say really stupid shit. Like for Brittany, they are misogynistic. For you just say crazy shit all the time, and that's why they're really mad. But they're also a little misogynistic too. But it becomes impossible to like pick out like where are the actual like good criticisms versus where does this community just like kind of like rally against women. And there's too much like ironic, like she's turning me into an incel, or like this woman is an incel factory, and blah 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 blah. And I can see like the double standards for how I treat people. Like, and I've said this like a million times. Like, my community's response, if I would have brought Lauren Southern to my house to have like waffles and pancakes or waffles and chicken instead of Nick Fuentes, instead of all of the criticism against Fuentes, it would have just been calling me a coomer the entire time. If instead of like Sneeko, it would have been like Sneeka, and it would have been like a girl version of Sneeko, it would be like, oh, he's just trying to fuck her, like she's turning me into an incel, blah, 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 blah. I don't like this idea that, and I talk about this phenomenon on stream all the time. People still do it. When a man makes a mistake, the man is evaluated for his negative behavior. Boom.
Yes.
When a woman makes a mistake, it reflects poorly on all women.
Oh wow,
and it just drives me
right back
crazy.
to the FIFA.
And it inhibits the ability for my community to evaluate messages
Sorry, I didn't mean to pause it.
just from women, and it inhibits the ability for my community to grow with other women in it, because it's pretty clear as soon as you come in, like, oh, there's a girl on screen with a little bit of cleavage and everybody's typing coomer, like, this is why would I be in this community? Like, it's cringe, you know?
Well, in the spheres that you're in and I'm also in, to get a larger like woman audience because of the subject matter itself, or do you think that just by doing that it will open up those kinds of doors?
You're asking me if the subject matter itself is keeping women from joining my community?
I'm making my life
Actually, no,
easy.
that's
I
true.
don't
The
care.
weird thing is that it's hard for me to even believe this because I don't have as much like real life political engagement, but from everything, how many people here do like real life political stuff? Okay, a few. Or no, actually quite a few. So this is something that I've heard over and over again. Apparently in real life, when it comes to volunteering in political groups, the real life people that show up are like 95% women. That like women are like, oh, maybe not in your guys' movement, okay? But that like women are like overwhelmingly involved. When I did a lot of the canvassing, people told me that because when I did my canvassing event, it's DGGers, it's like all men. And people are like, this is insane. How did you get so many like boys and men out here to do this? Like it's almost always women that are like door knocking or going and doing political stuff. And that was interesting, man. I heard that over and over and over again. So I don't think there's this idea that like women are like disconnected from political stuff in the real world and only men are, and that's why they're, you know, over exaggerated online. I just think that the communities that
Vamos
exist
de
online are
here.
very
There
much
you
like
go.
they feel like a boys club, and I think welcoming women more can help to kind of like flesh out the community. Yeah. Final question.
Dude, I need women in this community, dude. I don't
Do you
know.
think that there are places on YouTube or on Twitch that talk about politics that are predominantly women that we just don't know about because of the social circles that like DGGers would be in?
Are there places on Twitch that
Fuck!
have
I
a
blew
lot
it.
of women
I blew
that
it.
talk
I'm
about
trash.
politics? No,
I'm
because
fucking
almost
garbage.
all
I
of them
blew
appeal
it.
to men. Even the women appeal to men. Like, look at even online in general. Yeah, I think that most politics, even the ones that women do, end up kind of appealing. Like, look at like Denims on Twitch, right? She has like
Don't care.
OnlyFans now, right? Like her material is like a little bit coomer baity, a little bit like flirty. Like even,
Literally,
I think
fuck
even
this.
Demon Mama said that her audience
Petty.
is like 70%
Don't give a
men,
shit.
and that's like a really progressive kind of out there wacky politics. But I imagine they probably don't. I would imagine they don't know much misogyny in their community. So, but I think a lot of the sure. But yeah, I think that I think that there are better ways to have that conversation online, like political conversations online that don't feel as exclusionary to women. And I'll figure that out. That's something I'll figure out. But I know that step one is getting rid of the ironic and unironic misogyny because it doesn't benefit the community much, and it potentially cuts off like so many. And I've had a lot of like personal interactions with women where they'll tell me that, where they'll be like, oh yeah, like, you know, I was in your chat for a little bit, but like the not safe for work spam immediately when the stream goes offline is kind of weird, or like every single time like Coomer gets posted when a girl on stream is kind of weird. And if I've talked to real life women saying that, there's got to be like 100 women for every one woman I talk to that feels the same way. So that's just kind of what I'm thinking. Like, yeah.
It kind of push journalistic standards back to placing a priority on like objectivity versus kind of like activism, where you kind of have to look at everything with a grain of salt. Like, okay, well, these people clearly have this.
Oh my god, there's two on me. There's two on me. What the fuck?
Is there a way to push journalistic standards back to objectivity instead of being so biased? Something that I'm starting to do with the end of all of my manifestos. We're kind of working on my Discord group, but when I finish a writing piece now, I'm like aggressively emailing like journalists and websites to get them to change stuff if I feel like it's not there. So especially things posted to semi-mainstream stuff like Eurogamer or like Polygon or Kotaku. Like I have people that like, let's email them so we
garbage.
can get
That's
them changed.
trash.
At the very least, we
That's
get a response on
absolute
the
dog
record.
shit.
It would be nice if I had a Twitter account to pressure some of these people. Maybe in the future we'll see. But yeah, I think that holding journalists to account. I think here's something that I've gotten more and more white pilled. I don't know, the opposite of black pilled on this as I've kind of like evolved through this. I think that individuals have way more power than they originally thought. There's a lot of political power out there for grabs. You just have to take it.
Oh my
and I think
God,
that, like,
what am I
incredibly powerful
fucking
thing
doing, bro?
is emailing journalists and like providing corrections or
I didn't mean to
asking for
pause it.
retractions. I think it will get more responses than people think. Like, I don't think anybody does it. I think if somebody publishes an article and it's wrong, you should email them and say like, hey, like email them and CC their editor in chief even if you want. Hey, you published this, it's wrong.
No,
Here's a link
no, no,
why.
no, no, no.
Like,
Yes.
it would be cool if you could either update this or explain why you did this. Like, that's something I'm going to encourage my audience to do more, to hold some journalists to account. I think that I'm very big on there's a feedback cycle between journalism and the people that consume media.
What?
And I
To the
don't
left.
like it
To
when
the left.
citizens
Damn
try
it.
to accuse media constantly of being
Oh,
corrupt and
fuck, they
horrible
missed.
when the media is just more or less a reflection of what citizens want to see.
God
There's
is
no
on my
excuse for the media to
side.
look like what it does today, but it does because people love that bias, inflammatory, hyperactive focus on the things that they care about in the ways that they care about. So I mean, as long as the people are holding the media to account a little bit more, I think the media will slowly change what they do. It just we can't accept like the super partisan reporting and the bending of facts and twisting of narratives to support like our political side. It's just there's no excuse for it.
I was right. I hope they serve whiskey in hell.
As you know, they have like
'Cause I'm already on my way and I'm fucked up. This defense is wild.
like student council that can actually do
You know what? Part of it is the lag. Oh fuck, dude, he's hurt.
actual canvassing, but I'm saying much more of like creating its own like community of like, hey, well, if you want to go canvass, whether you're Republican or Democrat, like here's like a group or a community that you can find, and focusing more on giving, I guess, making political change.
Are you guys able to hear their questions like pretty well on stream, or do I need to repeat it? Go on stream. Tell me. Talk to me. Oh, I'm just asking. Oh no, I'm asking if they hear that. Do they hear that guy fine?
Oh, I
I'm
hit the
waiting.
wrong button.
I'm just look at him up here. We hear, we hear, we hear. Oh, cool. Okay, they can hear him just fine. Nice. I can only do so many things at once. I'm only human. The resources out there for canvassing are non-existent, though. I noticed that when we did our canvassing projects, there's like, if you're looking for help or guidance, I don't know if people just don't take it seriously. Like, if canvassing is just like a hobby project that people do to feel good about themselves or to waste money. But yeah, finding resources.
That's
will
what
be
I thought
very,
it
very
was.
hard. You'll find like a couple YouTube videos with like 700 views, but it's unfortunate, but I think the reality is that like door knocking is just so much less sexy than like trying to get like, you know, fire tweets, and people are more concerned with like, kind of the online activism because it feels so much.
I've canvassed before. I feel like it's so fucking useless. Holy shit, bro. You'll spend hours to talk to nobody, get nothing. Also, a lot of people just kind of want that money and they don't give a fuck. Which was also kind of what I was doing, but whatever.
Much more important than doing stuff in real life. I think that the reluctance to engage with stuff like canvassing on a deeper level, I don't think has anything to do with canvassing. I think it has to do with there's kind of this weird thing that happened with the internet where people don't really care much about local areas anymore. They're more like citizens of the United States, and they want to talk about like AOC, and they want to talk about abortion, and they want to talk about the Supreme Court. And, you know, that's why you've got like these people in California are crying because Roe v. Wade gets overturned. It's like, why are you crying? Like, you're not losing abortion in California. Something like, why? What are you so emotionally invested in this? You know, I can understand having empathy for other people, but like, yeah, it happened a lot with the BLM stuff too. That I would talk to person after person after person, and I'm like, okay, well, what do you want Obama to do about the BLM stuff? What do you want Obama to do about policing in your city? Because like Obama can't do anything about it, right? The federal government can't do anything about policing your city. This is going to come from your police, you can elect, you know? And you have these voter turnouts in these cities. It's like 25%. And you wonder why crime isn't getting fixed. Like for a 25% voter turnout, this is like you exclusively have affluent, white, people that are voting in your elections, and it's like, yeah, of course crime's not getting fixed. Like, these people don't care about an elderly, right? A 65-year-old white dude doesn't care about 3-strike laws or who's going to jail for marijuana possession because, well, you know, why would they? They're not going to jail for marijuana possession. So I don't have do what?
Other old guys.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah. Well, not everybody, yeah. But I don't know how to get people to care more about local stuff. That's a challenging concept. Ironically enough, or maybe unironically, this is where some of the far-right movements, I think, make good critiques on some of the liberal movements sometimes, is that from a liberal perspective, we're very nationally focused. We very much care about all the federal elections. And for a lot of conservative people, like, their concern is kind of their local community. Like, they don't really care, you know, like, they don't want a 5% tax increase so that their money can go to, you know, some random person that they've never seen in their life. They'd rather tithe 5% more at their local community church or something because they see who they give the money to and they can see the communities that they help for.
Excuse me,
so,
sorry.
Yeah, I don't know how to bring that local focus back. I really have no answer there. I'm sorry. That's a really difficult one, especially when because people don't really care where they live. I don't care where I live. I'm moving around like every year. A lot of young people, like if they get a new job, they up and leave. And I mean, that's kind of the reality where we're at right now. I don't know how you incentivize people to have like a big investment in their local communities until they start having families, basically.
People with the mindset that like their vote doesn't matter because like they're 1% of 1% or whatever.
What I think about people with the mindset their vote doesn't. I mean, your vote does matter. I mean, that's how stuff gets done in the United States. I know that people don't like to think about that, but I mean, if you think your vote doesn't matter, I mean, then it won't because you won't vote. But I mean, like,
that was almost perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I don't know what to say. Some people think all the elections are rigged. I guess, yeah, well, Trump does. I mean, I guess if you want to think that, you can think that. But I mean, like, your vote is. I mean, we still vote people in. That's where people come from. I mean, if you want to see change, you're gonna have to vote on it. If you don't like the idea of your one vote not counting, you said you were reading that Politics is for Power book. There is a lot of political power that's up for grabs at local levels.
Dude, this
like,
guy. I got so many emails. Sub this guy out.
That
oh
Hirsch guy was telling me that like
God.
you
oh
will
my
have
fucking
these
God.
city councils who there will be like one fucking old lady that shows up at every city council meeting, and she's like the one reason why some total area isn't getting redeveloped is because she knows everybody there. She's holding up progress every time, and she's giving her story over and over and over and over again. I remember where I lived, there was this godforsaken stop sign intersection, and I hated it, and I wanted them to put a stoplight there. I wanted them to put no wait, I didn't want them to put a stoplight there. There was a stoplight there, and I liked it because they'd gotten rid of like there were stop signs there, and then they put a stoplight, and it made it so much easier to get through the intersection, something like that, one way or the other. I don't remember. This is a while ago, but I remember there was a lady that went door knocking to get people to sign a petition to like bring back the stoplight because it was like unsafe for kids to cross the street. And she came and I was like, no, I hate that stop sign. I have a 9-year-old son here. If he dies, it's on me. Okay, like this intersection sucks to wait at night at a stoplight where I have to turn left and wait 5 minutes per turn. And I kind of laughed it off or whatever. And but this little old lady went up and down the block getting her signatures. 2 weeks later, the stoplights all had the black hoods over them, like they were going off to the gallows. She got them axed. She did it. The stop signs or whatever got taken out, stoplights got put up, and now there's like a 5-minute wait there if you want to turn left coming out of where I used to live. But yeah, there's a lot of political power up for grabs at the local level. There's a lot of really interesting, inspirational stories in that book about people that go after it. You just have to be willing to put in a little bit of effort to do it.
So I know that 2024 elections are pretty far away at the moment.
Fuck,
but,
dude, if they scored on me again.
When 2024 gets closer, do you think you're gonna do like another canvassing event like with Georgia in 2020 with the Senate elections?
Well, I do another canvassing event. I don't know, dude. The last one crushed my soul. For Omaha, for like runoff elections or something. I don't know. I'm truly undecided. It's just gonna depend on what's going on. I can probably mobilize even more people next time. We've got a formula down pretty well for like organizing it and getting it to work. Obviously, I have a lot of money personally that I can invest in the project. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on how I feel. I can probably like play the media a little bit better too in terms of getting them to show up and cover the event. I'm pretty confident at this point. I could probably bring out like 200 canvassers to any event in like a big state next to like a major airport. Maybe I'll consider it, but I don't know yet. Who knows? We'll see.
When are you bringing back the dating show with Kyla and Dan?
The dating show with Kyla and Dan. The biggest thing that's messing it up right now is I think Kyla preferred to do it on weekends, and I've been traveling like every weekend for like a different event, and I think I'm booked like all through like this month and next month. Like I think I'm going to London.
Sides, pussy.
I think I'm going to Austin again. There's just like so much random stuff coming up that the weekend times are really hard. Maybe if we move it to like a Wednesday or a Friday, maybe it'll be easier. Oh, but we were trying to get call-ins for the show too. That's why we did it on the weekend because I don't know if we can have people calling in on like days they're supposed to work.
Yes,
we
you
haven't
can.
What
the
I'm just like out of town every weekend right now doing stuff. So.
No.
No NSW November. What month are we in right now? What is it? Next month November? We might do no NSFW as soon as I get home. We might. Because I don't know what the point is. I'm not sure anymore.
Fuck, did
we
I
all
just
know where to
see...
go to find porn on the internet. Do we need people linking
lightning
in chat as soon as my stream
outside.
goes
God
offline?
damn.
I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? For a show of hands, do we want not safe for work links posted in chat?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, we got a couple. We got 3, 4 defenders here. Okay, so well, these guys are on board. Wait, hold on. I'm curious. How many people in here like my League of Legends content? Look at this. League fans show up. How? They do. The rift is strong. Yep, there's the Coomers in chat. Not good, guys. Not good.
Lag is crazy. The lag is fucking crazy right now.
How many of you guys are in here? Okay. What, who next? Go for it.
So, I notice sometimes when you debate really heavy right-wing people, kind of like Fuentes even at times too, a lot of their arguments can be based in some sort of like Christian nationalist dogmatic linking. And I also noticed that you've been reading C.S. Lewis a lot too. And so I was wondering if there was a correlation there, if like C.S. Lewis was helping you kind of understand like where they're coming from more and how to argue against it, or if like they're even wrong too. Because even when you would argue against Sneeko too, it's like he would say he wanted a godly woman, but
Yeah, okay, so I think you have to separate, like, if you're talking like America First Christian nationalism, that's completely different than whatever the Sneeko Red Pill guys are talking about when they invoke, like, when those guys are talking Christianity, it's whatever excuse they can have to, like, hate women. It's unironically. I think that when Christian nationalists invoke it, I think that there's
the rift
more
is
kind of
calling
like a
for
center focus
Steven.
on, like,
My goal in life, Nikki D, is to get you to stop playing
a
League.
strong Christian person, and maybe even a Christian nationalist person, you view the country fundamentally as being built from the bottom up, right? Like a strong country starts with a strong family, right? And a strong family starts with a strong mother and a strong father, and they're embodying some form of Christian values that allow them to survive and thrive as a strong Christian family. And then from those building blocks, you start to build out a society.
Oh my God!
I don't agree with the Christian worldview, but I think that there are like Christian critiques.
I cannot lose this game. I'm gonna be so fucking mad if I lose this stupid fucking game.
To listen to that, there's probably a reason why families have existed in the ways that they have for so long, and there have been like tweaks, over time. Like we haven't always been as much a nuclear family versus kind of like more of a collection of family members that raise people. We haven't always been like Christianity.
I'll never play.
Religions, but,
dude,
like,
remember I
been,
fucking
like, trends and currents that have existed throughout
senior year. I downloaded League of Legends for like 30 minutes, and I was like,
this is kind of like my
fuck
secular way of doing,
this.
like kind of the Christian nationalist movement. When I think of Christian nationalists, I usually think of people that see a secular life living right.
Yeah, I don't need that misery in my life, Nikki D.
Right now, that seems to be lacking in structure and lacking in purpose. That you have a bunch of people that are basically like ping pong balls bouncing around from dopamine machine to dopamine machine. You've got porn, you've got internet gaming, you've got, and then like LGBT.
Oh no. Was that on side? Was that on fucking side?
When you look at the stats, you
Damn
see,
it.
like, okay,
No.
well, depression is increasing, loneliness is increasing,
Fuck
single
me.
men are decreasing, unhappiness, and then they look at all of this and say, okay, well, these people have no purpose, they have no like guiding rigid structure for life, and then they kind of like look back to days of old and they go, okay, well, what did like old functional families used to look like? It was a mom, it was a dad, it was a couple children, it was people doing chores, it was people going to church, and I think that's what when I view Christian nationalism, I just look at like a group of people that are looking for a way to impose some kind of structure back on life that makes things make sense again, so that everything isn't like so like blown out and bizarro, which is in some ways is kind of where we're at right now in society. I think that liberals need to do a better job at giving a better framework for life, because if we've learned anything about ourselves as humans, it's humans left to their own devices in front of infinite dopamine machines will keep pulling the lever until their brains rot and fall out of their ears. That's just not
That's
something
what
we
I'm
can
doing.
handle, responsibly, whether it's sugar in our diets, whether it's infinite online gaming, whether
me that
it's infinite
dopamine
access to,
machine.
Masturbating 10 times a day to porn, whether it's whatever. Like we need.
Fuck.
The word that I've been using is friction. There needs to be more friction in life accessing the things that make us happy, because I think there's probably a lot of happiness that comes from the friction itself. I made this argument, this is very not related, but I made this argument with like the Robinhood trading stuff, that like maybe being able to buy and sell stocks with absolutely no fee is not good, because people treat it like gambling, they get addicted to it, and having a little fee there makes you stop and think like, okay, maybe I need to think about this a little bit more. Same thing with playing games, same thing with like watching porn, same thing with doing like anything. Like there should probably be a little bit more friction in life to give you like a little bit more of a struggle to get things, rather than just
This
activating
fucking
the
lag's
dopamine
giving me
by
friction
scrolling
right
TikTok
now,
and
dude.
Reddit over and over and over again. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm about to lose the ball just because it's fucking lagging.
Anybody I look up to whose positions might influence.
You know what I forgot to
No.
do?
I don't know why, but I'm just not that kind of person. Usually what I learn from best is I learn a lot through conflict. So usually it'll either be a person or it'll be an event in my life that challenges me in some way that I feel like I don't have an adequate answer for. And then hopefully, ideally, usually through that challenge, I will have some kind of like self-development,
that makes a difference.
or I'll grow in some way to where I can develop like an answer or response for that. So if I go through like a challenging period of my life, usually if something is challenging me, it's because I'm doing something like not well, and I'll try to change that thing. Or if I have like a series of arguments where it's like I don't have a good response for this, I'll either change my argument or I'll like flesh out mine more so that I feel like I can respond to it better. But I find that I tend to grow and learn more through conflict. But yeah.
Back to the females wanting to bring more females onto.
Jeff, or can I get like a bottle of water real quick?
I got you.
Okay, go ahead.
Back to wanting to bring more
God bless you, the hair. God bless you, the hair.
Change or ameliorate your personality, much less, your chat's personality as they're putting things up on there. As like your jokes, right?
I do. I kind of do the ironic misogyny sometimes. Yeah, I'll cut back on that. I'll just stop doing that. Yeah.
For instance, if somebody could say a joke like, those great big baggy sweatpants look like you're just lugging around a great big steamy bowel movement. And
why do you do this to me?
Or maybe like, no, just off the top of my head, your hair looks
Dude, I fucked up. That was the moment. That was the moment, and I blew it.
to your head while you're sleeping. Those kind of jokes might not be all that. I just wanted to make those jokes.
Okay, well, you know what? You found the excuse for it. Okay, good job. When am I gonna? Well, the headshots that I have right now are like so memeable. I don't know if I'm gonna change them now. They're very serious. Whenever I stop being lazy, I'll get new pictures someday, but we'll see. After I dye my hair blue.
Yo, I need some headshots.
Blue-haired headshots. 6'7" guy.
When is the DGG convention going to happen?
The DGG convention. Dan's in charge of planning it, so ask him, okay? Make sure to add Dan in Discord, asking him about the DGG convention. Sure. Yeah, well, start pressuring him, okay?
Is this not the DGG convention?
This is not the DGG convention. This was the anti-Mr. Girl convention. We had this discussion at the beginning, okay?
Ball pit in the back, or
the ball? We don't have a ball pit, but we do have a foam pit over there. If you want to do gladiators and jump off, just be careful. Yep. In the back.
No.
Yeah, go for it.
Yes.
So apparently there's a
No.
study going around
Fuck
on
you.
Twitter of an uptick of men under 30 not having sex. Do you think that's impactful for society or not impactful? Is it significant at all? Or?
Men under 30 not having sex. So the issue is, I don't think men not having sex isn't necessarily a big deal. The big deal is going to be, why is it happening? If it's that like people are pursuing careers and stuff, but which I'm guessing is probably not the reason, then probably not a big deal. But if it has to do with like people not being able to communicate with each other, or society in general becoming more atomized, then it's probably a bad thing. Those studies are weird to me. I have to look, because I feel like I just saw a study that came out, or not a study, but these surveys that came out like a month ago that showed that like the number of men having sex was actually dramatically increasing, like 3 times more or whatever than it was before. I don't know like how these surveys are done, or if like some are more reliable than others. But yeah, I mean, I will say that society right now is definitely trending towards people being more lonely. Probably not a good thing. Yeah, and then men in general suck at like communicating and stuff, so it probably impacts us even more than it does women, would be my guess.
I have nobody.
What did I learn from the conflict of my Twitch ban? Yeah, dang. Let's see. What did I learn from my Twitch ban? It was something I already saw kind of coming in advance. One thing that I'd kind of learned from my Twitch ban that I need, I think there's like vocab that I think I need to censor moving forward. I just have to be careful with some word. It always like changes. One thing I need to do is I become like the testing ground for every new Twitch ban when they like decide certain words are not okay. Like I wonder if I got banned for saying inbred or subhuman. I'm not sure, even though other people use those words, but maybe I got dinged for that. I probably need to aggressively, proactively cut out other words. Like I have a feeling that if I get back on Twitch, I'm gonna be like the first person to get banned for saying retarded. So like it feels like something will happen to me. So I probably need to be more aggressive at like cutting certain words out of my vocabulary. But I still don't know 100% what I got banned from Twitch for. I'm not entirely sure. So it's hard to say.
With your exodus from Twitch, and as well as like kind of like Dylan Burns stopping doing hippy dippy roundtables of sorts, the more interactive, engaging kind of debate panels. Not to be too.
I want to make music, and then I'm honestly probably gonna be done.
You see coming from the now rotting corpse of Twitch politics.
I don't know. A lot of people seem to try to move over to YouTube. I think like Erudite does YouTube streams now. I think Kyla does YouTube streams when she's with me. Yeah, it's hard to say. I don't know even who does politics on Twitch right now. I know there's like Hassan and Mike. I think Denims does. There's always like that weird small lefty community that just like circle jerks themselves, but I don't know how many of them are like active on Twitch that much. It's very dead.
It turned into lefties just kind of cannibalizing each other because they didn't have.
Oh, big bad Destiny to attack her.
Da 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 da.
Attacking her, and you're not dead.
Yeah. What? Is that new? Well, I think when I was there, they had more of a focus on hating me than hating each other, but. I think one of the big issues is that like people in general in society are very big on like pulling up the ladder behind them. Like when somebody gets big, they don't want to talk to anybody anymore that's beneath them. People on Twitch do this like all the time. I don't know if it's as bad in the YouTube world, but it definitely happens in the Twitch world. So like it felt like there were no other content creators besides me that were willing to like make regular. Like I'll show up on Prime Kai's panel if I feel like there's a debate that I really want to have, or I'll go on like these random panel shows to talk to random people. Just 'cause I think the topics are interesting. But like it seems like people like Vosh never do that. Hassan definitely doesn't do that. Mike definitely doesn't do that. I don't even know if Denims does that. Yeah, it seems like once people hit a certain view count, they're basically just like, fuck you, I've got mine, like, get away from me, you're dirty, and I'm just gonna, like, do my clout chasing stuff, which is, like, obviously really detrimental to the scene. And then it doesn't help that, like, all the three pillars of, like, the politics online community are unwilling to engage with anybody because they're such fragile man-children, right? That, like, even if we hate each other, a debate between me and Hassan, he would get like 3x the viewers for that debate. It would be huge. If me and Vosh debated, he would get 3x the viewers for that debate. It would be huge. These guys are like so like ego-brained that they're actually like they're cucking their own content.
I don't mind this
good
one.
content for them. They're cucking the overall growth of the communities because obviously anytime like we're fighting, like you guys are reacting to it and you guys are getting a lot of views off of it. And they're just like overall like harmful and damaging to even their own political ideologies because they could be growing their own ideologies. Like it's so funny because Vosh will talk about we gotta convert people, Bro, my audience is bigger than yours, and you say I'm I'm sorry, you say I'm an idiot. Come convert my audience. Come take them from me.
20 to 50 viewer Andy, he won't even talk to me.
Yeah.
Because there's the possibility of him losing a debate with someone that, yeah.
Well, because a lot of these guys, Hassan and Vosh, have this like they built this perfect like trap for themselves where they're like, I'm not gonna talk to anybody that's smaller than me because I don't want to risk platforming like a bad actor. So they've like built this perfect like world where like, oh, I can only talk to the people that also just so happen to benefit my career the most. Like, oh wow, how clever and crafty for you. Like, lame, stupid. Sean.
I'm in a lot of right-wing circles, and I noticed about
I fucked up at the end.
ago, like let's say, no right-winger would really be a fan of yours, but 4 or 5 years ago, there are a lot of people on the right that started to listen to you a lot. I mean, there's a lot of people I talked to today at the tent, and even here, that said, yeah, I'm right-wing, I disagree with a lot of what he says, but I listen to him now a lot. Do you know why that's happening? Is there a societal shift, or is it a change in you, or?
Yeah, so I think I've changed. I think I've changed quite a bit actually in terms of being more empathetic towards people on the right. I also think that in general, I thought about this a lot offline one day because I've gotten asked this question a lot, and it is pretty hard to think about. People always ask me like, why are you so much nicer to right-wing people than left-wing people? And I don't think that's my default position. I don't think I try to be, but I spend a lot of time thinking about this, like why it seems like I can communicate with right-wing people that disagree with me so much more easily than left-wing people that disagree with me. And I think the reason why that is because if you're like a very left person in society, like everybody wants to speak at you and to you. Like Hollywood wants to make you feel heard. Schools want to make you feel represented. Like all of society wants to make you understand that you're special, you're awesome, we hear you, we're here to fight for against white supremacy, and we want to do land acknowledgements, and we want to have like LGBTQIQ, whatever. Like everybody wants your ear, and they want to talk to you, make you feel loved and welcome or whatever. And I think a lot of conservative communities are like feel like nobody's listening to them. And I think that a lot of the conservative communities that are growing, their figureheads are people that are literally collecting these people that feel like they're just completely unheard. Like when you look at people like Jordan Peterson was like the prototypical, I think, example of this. And then you look at like a lot of the red pill guys now. I think that a lot of those audiences are just like super hungry for anybody to feel like anybody is listening to their problems. So I think that when I go into a room, if you're a progressive, you don't care what I have to say because I'm gonna come at you with some criticism, because I'm not going to wholly, endorse any particular ideology, like farther left or farther right than me. So, but why would you listen to me when there are so many people in society saying like, I love you and I accept you and all your faults and everything, you're perfect and blah, blah, blah. You're going to listen to me on the left. I would have to like simp so hard for you to even get you to care about what I'm saying. But if you're on the right and I'm able to accurately explain like, okay, well, I don't agree with you, but I understand like these are your complaints. I understand that you're looking for these types of solutions. Like, I get your problems. Like, they're real. They exist, obviously. Like, feelings aren't random. We say that on the left all the time, Nobody feels things by accident. I think if you're on the right, you're like, oh, well, it's cool that like somebody, especially somebody on the left, at least seems like, even if I don't agree with them, at least it seems like they understand my problems. Because I think most people on the left are only speaking to people on the left, and they don't really seem to care to try to like have any sort of empathetic bridge built at all, because everybody on the right is just like a racist, Nazi, neo-fascist. You.
Midterms in like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Are we gonna get content on midterms in 3 weeks? That's gonna depend on how quickly I finish my Factorio run, but we'll see. I'm trying to, what I need to do is cut down Factorio to like 3 hours a day, probably 6 hours a day, and then I need to spend like 3 or 4 hours on like actual political content. I'll do it as we get close to the midterms, We're still a good 20 days out, all right?
Okay, another one. All right, so whenever you argued with the black conservative that was part of the TPUSA, do you remember that? It was about abortion.
Oh, Bryson Gray?
Yeah. But so the idea was,
the guy that said clouds have feelings or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, you shared an idea of like, okay, well, if I woke up in the hospital and I was attached to someone.
Yeah, literally, Nikki D. Okay, I'm gonna try to fix that.
Are you trying to sneak another vegan argument into here?
No, well, it's important because I kind of wanted to see the logical conclusion. So, I guess my question would be, why doesn't the my body, my choice argument work? Because you kind of like, whenever I heard you...
My body, my choice doesn't work for the woman, because if you're making the concession that the fetus is alive, you're essentially arguing that a woman can be inconvenienced enough to murder someone. That's why I don't like that, like, people will make the argument that, like, okay, it's a fetus and it's a human life and it's living and it's worth moral consideration, but, like, the woman doesn't want to be pregnant and it's, like, aggressing on her. It's like, okay, yeah, but it didn't choose to aggress on you. You can't fucking murder something because it's, like, inconveniencing you, even if that inconvenience is, like, substantial. That's why I don't like people that make the bodily autonomy argument for abortion. I think that if you concede that, like, the fetus is a living life from day one, I think you kind of have to let it grow at that point, unless there's, like, a threat to the mother's life. Otherwise, yeah.
And then would you say that, like, if someone woke up in the hospital and then they were like, okay, well, no matter what, if this person has to be detached from me, they're gonna die, you would be like, okay, well, I guess you kind of have to live with that?
If you woke up from the hospital and somebody was attached to you and you didn't want them attached and you decided to remove them, I think you can argue that you're allowed to do that because you didn't make any kind of action or consent that there was a possibility of that happening. I think that with sexual intercourse, at least non-rapey sexual intercourse or non-rape sexual intercourse, that you kind of consent to some extent that there's like a percentage chance that you're gonna get pregnant. So in a way, you kind of have to like consent to the outcomes of that. Or at the very least, you have to recognize that if you're gonna say that there's a life on day one, you're risking like murdering somebody because you wanted to fuck, which I think is, I don't think you can overcome that. It's just such a huge burden. Like, I think if you're gonna make pro-choice arguments, if you can't start by conceding that like on day one it's a human life worthy of moral consideration. You just can't do that. I don't think so, because again, you're making arguments like murder somebody, which is like really extreme in my opinion.
Because like murder doesn't like include all forms of killing, like by definition. It's like a specific subset of things that are considered forms of killing.
Yeah, murder is by definition like an unjustified killing, basically. Yeah.
So like, couldn't we like define like abortion as a form of killing, like that doesn't constitute murder?
It's so hard. Like how? Like if you like, so here's how this argument would go. Okay, so the argument would say, okay, sure, there's a fetus, sure it's living, and sure it's in your body, but I think you should kill it. And I go, how can you kill a baby that's like just an innocent baby? And you go, it's not an innocent baby. It's actually a form of aggression against me. It's like making my body materially worse. It's harming me by being in my body, stealing resources, making me worse off. But then my point against that would be, well, it is so young and so innocent that it doesn't have agency
Dude,
yet
it's
to
clipping
make
so
the
hard
choice
right
to
now.
harm you. It's essentially, well, by definition, literally a child. That in real life, if an adult human were to come up to me and try to take something from me, that might escalate into a scenario where like we get into a fight over, you know, our lives. If in real life, like a 2-year-old walks up to me, or like a 6-month-old crawls over to me to take something, they're 6 months old. They don't have the agency yet to make a choice that would make killing them a reasonable response in regards to what they're doing, I think. And I feel like for the fetus, I feel like it would be reasonable. Like, yeah, you can argue that it's a life, but it's aggressing against you, but it didn't choose to aggress against you. And killing that person for that perceived aggression that generally won't kill you, there's a very, very low chance. And if it does threaten your life, you can abort, obviously. It's a really long shot argument that, yeah.
Like if we're using the term murder, which is like legally defined, are we kind of like...
Well, sure, I guess I wouldn't use murder, I'd say killing unjustly, because when you use murder, you're kind of begging the question, but that's what most people would view it as, I think, right? Yeah.
Something is so off right now.
Yeah, sure, maybe. Yeah. Somebody had their hand up over here. Back.
You mentioned earlier that getting the left and the right to be in the middle is really difficult. Would you ever consider doing a Change My Mind where you moderated a debate between two students? Or would that be too much of a shit show?
Change My Mind where I moderate a debate between two students. There's a lot of risk there. In a one-on-one conversation, I have control over like 90% of the conversation. In a moderated conversation, I have control over like 10% of the conversation. Like if I get somebody that's really like obstinate or like very like non-cooperative, like I can cut the convo or I can try to steer it in a positive way. If two people like that show up, trying to moderate a conversation between two strangers would be very, 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 very difficult, especially if it's two people that don't know me very well. Because when I moderate conversations, a lot of what moderates it is my reputation kind of preceding me, right? Like, oh, it's Destiny. He's here to like, you know, be like a reasonable moderator. If you're like random students and you've got some weird dude showing up with dumpy sweatpants and head of hair that looks like it fell off an executed guy, you know, 20 years ago or whatever, yeah, you might not be as keen to listen. Like they might just start like fighting each other. Like, I don't know. So yeah, I don't know if I can moderate debates between strangers unless like people specifically signed up for it. That would be like a different type of event, I think. The people that interacted with me, does that affect my opinion on the diversity of thought on college campuses? Not really. Usually when I'm looking for like, do I feel like there's an issue with diversity of thought on college campuses? I'm not necessarily looking at individual student opinions. I'm looking at how school administration is acting, and I'm looking at like kind of large scale events on college campuses to see what's going on. Like if it was the case that college campuses were all evenly split 50-50 in terms of like political opinion between like conservatives and liberals, but I still see that like conservative speakers get boycotted off of campuses like often enough for it to be alarming. I still see that like a lot of school faculty can get like bullied out of schools because they're not like left-leaning enough. I wouldn't really care about the student body opinion at that point. My concern would still be like about like these kind of events that are happening around the schools. Where are we at for time? Okay.
What?
Yeah, you again.
Okay, so I really like your kind of idea of morality and the axioms that you have, but I guess, cause like, you know, as a DGGer, I want to parrot your ideas. I have trouble whenever it kind of goes from the big idea of morality to maybe like more minutia of actions, and I guess my question is, how do you kind of like, I guess, parse that?
Big, can you give me an example? Like on an issue.
Okay, let me think. I guess like okay, so society like should benefit everybody, blah blah blah. Like,
or just give me like one like particular policy, and I can kind of talk you through like how I would kind of.
There's so much like particular decisions that like I would make day to day.
Yeah, particular decision. Give me a particular decision.
So like I guess like the idea of like, okay, well I want to rest on you, right? So what is it? Autonomy is protected and like your possessions are protected. Okay, well now if I need to steal bread.
Jedi vibes in this bitch. And this shit's simple. Run it in down. You gotta turn that shit off. Cause it's double. I don't rap though, so this is as far as I get on my beats. Starting to hate this fucking. Drums are gonna sound better and the melody sucks more.
I'm thinking of an action, I usually try to think of like if I universalize like the action and the justification for actions all throughout society, like how would it look? Like if people have to steal food to survive, that's probably preferable to people like starving to death. Like I think in that case it's probably okay. If you literally have to take food to survive, it's probably not the worst thing in the world. And like if I caught somebody like breaking in and stealing food from me, and they were like starving to death, I'd be like, okay, like get out, but take some food. Yeah, I think in that sense it's probably okay. You just have to look, I think, at like the intentions of the actions, and then the actions, and then see like, and then I guess like think to yourself, like if everybody was acting in this manner, would it like completely destroy society, or would
Never
we be better
seen a
off for it?
Jedi make a
So,
beat.
How do you plan on changing the discourse when right now all the incentives seem to line up towards deplatforming?
How do I plan on changing the discourse when all the incentives seem to line up with deplatforming? I think that, so what I see is, I think I see something that nobody else sees, okay? Right now, which is kind of what I'm aiming for, is I think that you can actually have really challenging conversations with people that dramatically
You never seen a Jedi make a beat before, bro. Never. Oh, if I could rap right now, if I rap, dude, it'd be over. Stupid. Hey. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Hey, let me know if this is trash or not. If the two people that are in here.
disagree with you, and you can still have like productive discourse. And I feel like nobody on the left acknowledges that to be true. That right now the idea is, it was all built off this idea of the paradox of tolerance, that if we're going to have a truly tolerant society, we have to be intolerant of the intolerant. But that intolerant category basically became anybody that disagrees with me about anything. And then so progressives have become like the new like ultra intolerant group of people, because now they're so worried about everybody being like a secret fascist that they can't have any conversations. So I've generally had really positive reception in every single community that I've like tried to have this style of conversation in, and I think that if more people did it, I think we'd be better off for it. And I think it's possible. I think it just has to be demonstrated to more people. Like, people need to see that it's possible. Yeah, because there just aren't left many people that are willing to do it.
I'm hungry and not hungry at the same time.
Could you see anything implemented in public education that would tackle your top complaints with modern political discourse?
Anything implemented in public education that would help my top complaints for modern discourse. Everybody should be required to take a basic psych class, and everybody should be required to take a basic philosophy class. Psychology is really important. The most important thing that I learned in my psych class in high school was how untrustworthy your own mind is when it comes to like recording and remembering events. You are such a biased observer. It is unbelievable to learn about to look at all the little what's the name of the line test? It's something Shack test. What is it? Rorschach? I thought that was the guy from the. No, I'm not talking about the. There's a line. Yes, what's it called?
I don't know the name, but it's
What?
Milgram?
Not the Milgram. I have a room full of DGers. Nobody knows about the line test. There's like an experiment where like you draw 3 lines on a board and you bring out a group full of people and you ask them, is this line like smaller, larger? It's called social identity theories, like the thing. Social identity theories, yeah. Sure, but like basically like you can get a person to answer like objectively stupid answers just based on like the people in the room pressuring him to give a certain answer, right? You've got the
I definitely
the
would fall for
Milgram
that
experiments
in
to see how
certain
far you
rooms.
can push somebody to deliver an electric shock to somebody. I won't cite the Stanford experiment since a lot of people are very controversial, I guess, in how people interpret the results of that. But like it seems like there's a lot of psychology that shows that our behavior is a lot more manipulatable than we would like to believe, and that our memories for recording events are a lot more biased than we would like to believe. And the cool thing is that when you learn that, it gives you the ability to kind of take a step back from your own perspective and kind of think like, okay, well, I probably need better tools to collect data about myself or analyze like my past and the framework through which I view my own life, because if I only rely on like my own kind of subjective emotional feelings, I'm gonna get a really distorted view of reality. So that's important, the basic psych class. And I think like a basic philosophy class where you just kind of like learn how to form like, what is a deductive argument? Like, what is a syllogism? How can we see like if A, if B, then, you know, conclusion? Like, how can we see these things? Those 2 things I think would be ultra super beneficial. I wish everybody had to take like just a basic philosophy and a basic psych course. I think it would help everything in society.
What values do you think are important in a significant other?
What values are important in a significant other? I mean, that's going to be super reflective in what you think is important for yourself, right? Like for some people, their religion is really important, so it's probably important you line up on that. For me, it's usually, can you deal with an inordinate amount of abuse online and the absolutely batshit insane life that I live? Melina and I were just fighting about this today. Yeah, for me, my life is, not only is it insane, it becomes more insane essentially every single 6 to 12 months, sometimes because of decisions that I make and other times because of other decisions that I make. So usually you have to be somebody that can like tolerate a whole bunch of crazy, insane shit. Yeah, that's probably the most important thing. On a more personal level, I like people that can like handle a lot of joking, because I'm a very I can be very. I have.
We
like,
just got an ad just now.
Orange County needs more affordable housing. But what
Do
are
they?
the politicians on the Orange County Commission doing?
What are they doing?
I'm trying to find a nicer way to say negging, but like I like a lot of like insult, like back and forth, like bantery type humor. Somebody that can deal with that a lot. Somebody with high self-esteem and high confidence, because I'm not very good at like reassuring somebody a lot. That's very difficult for me. People with very strong personalities. A lot of women can kind of have like this kind of like demure, like subservient personality. I super don't like it. I have a very
Agreed.
aggressive personality, and if you have a weak personality, I'm just going to steamroll you all the time. That's very boring to me. I need somebody with a lot of independence. I work a lot. I can work for months on end without even thinking about it, and you need to be somebody that can like go off and do it. But that's, yeah, I feel like I'm writing an OkCupid profile, but yeah. I guess that's for me personally, yeah. Samsel.
I beat Sneeko to the reaction.
Thing on the Reddit about the website. whatever it is y'all are calling it.
Yeah.
Are you, the service, whatever you want to call it. Are you intending on that being in direct competition with Whiteleaf? And also, was it the Rose Risk ousting that spurred that on?
Nothing I ever do would ever be in direct competition with Whiteleaf because those people are on a level that is so beneath anything I would ever be involved in. It's insulting you'd even imply that, okay? Number one. Number two, the thing that actually spurred it on was I've been paying a ton of money to these programmers in chat, like Jader, okay? Is our shit turned on yet? What was turned off? The slash what? Yeah, the Jader guy. We have features in chat that aren't working, even though I'm paying this guy constantly around the clock to work on our shit. I think it was slash mentions that was broken. But no, Jader's been doing a ton of work on parts of the site that are unseen, like in terms of like cleaning up the code base, basically making it so that like we have like a full stack that we can now deploy to other people. And it was Mr. Girl that kind of got the ball rolling all of that because he needed his own platform. So we started with Mr. Girl. We've got a couple of other creators that we're talking to. And yeah, I think the goal is, we've always kind of talked about that DGG in a box idea, but I think the problem was that like the old code base was, I don't want to say it was a clusterfuck, but it was hard to deploy that to other people. Like lots of messy code, lots of hard-coded stuff, lots of bad scaling, like just kind of messy. And it's been cleaned up enough that we can start to make that project more of a reality. But Mr. Girl definitely started it. The White Nervosa stuff definitely motivated us a bit more because now there's like a lot of people reaching out to Cake. But we just have to find a way to make it profitable for us to run. Yeah.
Something that would be linked through DGG and you can see a list of streamers that are live on it, or is this just...
That's a good question. So we spoke about this. I don't want to commit to anything, and now I'm leaking secret meeting notes from me, Cake, and Jader. But there's like a concept out there of like a federalized like system to where like you don't log into DGG anymore. You log into like the DGG server, and it's like an OAuth that basically you can use for any of these sites. So like let's say that you wanted to go to my site. You wouldn't actually log in on my site directly. You would OAuth in from like,
I think that's
it might just be called like DGG login or something. We probably have a different name
I
for it.
get my
But then if you wanted to go to
peaches
Mr.
out
Girl's
in
site, you could use like the same
Georgia.
login. You wouldn't have to create a new
My way
identity
from
for each one. And that would let us carry
California,
emotes
that's
over from
that
site to site.
shit.
Potentially. This is all like potentially right now. I'm not sure. But it feels like if we have like 10 or 15 people running on this platform, it'd be nice to reciprocate emotes. And it'd be nice to have like a standardized OAuth and services running between everybody. But I don't know. We'll see where it goes. Maybe we'll get lazy and fuck off and not do anything. If it doesn't work out, blame Cake. The federated thing was my idea, by the way. Okay, you.
And I say,
I don't know. I actually have never watched a single episode of Naruto my entire life.
It's the way you lift me up.
Make it the next debate. You want to debate John Zerko on it?
And I'll be right here with you till the end. I got my peaches out in Georgia. Oh yeah, shit. Got my weed from California.
Even I've never watched Naruto, and even I know that any remotely edgy person is choosing Sasuke, like every single time, right? It's like not even a... Yeah, well, I mean, like, I would never, without ever having watched an episode of Naruto my entire life, Sasuke seems like the Vegeta of the Naruto world. Okay, yeah.
I don't know the song.
No? Ooh.
But I think those are the chords.
We can have that debate.
Okay, so I'm gonna give this. Okay, so I've never seen Naruto. I'm gonna give this description of Sasuke, and you can tell me if I'm completely off or if it sounds kind of right. Sasuke feels like a character that might always be living in Naruto's shadow and has to try like way harder to like catch up or get powerful. And no, not at all. Oh, well then, okay, well what's?
So was Vegeta at the beginning, right? Well,
was Vegeta ever stronger than Kakarot?
Yeah, the whole thing he was saying before he went Super Saiyan. The only reason that Goku...
Wait, doesn't Goku show up and kick Vegeta's ass like over and over again?
Okay, can I explain the Sasuke Naruto situation a little bit better?
Yeah, go.
It starts off, Naruto is jealous of Sasuke because Sasuke is like super well trained and blah, blah, blah. And then as the first like show part goes, Naruto passes up Sasuke, which causes Sasuke to get really upset. He thinks he's worse than Naruto, and so he leaves to go gain more power. And so it's always kind of this play between the two where they gain more power, but they're like, it's like, yeah. It's like,
does Naruto ever catch up to, or does Sasuke ever catch up to Naruto?
Yeah, it goes back and forth.
Oh, okay. Okay, so not quite Vegeta then, gotcha. Because I don't think Vegeta ever really gets stronger than Goku once Goku passes him, right?
Majin
Wait,
Vegeta
what?